Hello YouTube, I'm this guy, and I'm going to be bringing you guys a real talk episode. This will be on Firewall, as I discussed on my first episode. I basically was going to have a couple of my buddies on here to discuss this Firewall because they thought the card needed to be banned or even eroded. But after discussing it off, camera and everything, because, I just wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page. They basically come to the agreement with me. After I gave them my explanation of what I was going to say, they kind of agreed and was on board with Fireball not being banned. So I'm going to basically do the solo again. On my next episode, I will definitely have them on to do the ban list predictions and what we thought needs to be on the ban list, what's going to happen to the ban list, and how the ban list is going to change the format, as it always does. So the whole point of me wanting to talk about this Firewall is to put my rants out there, because I have rants about this. I have rants of people wanting this banned, and it's been almost like an issue in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because what it seems like is every time when a deck rises and we don't have ways of countering the deck, which we do. We have ways of countering decks. But if it doesn't fall under our deck building, construction, then it seems like, first thing we need to do is ban the card. And to me, that's becoming a problem. It's really becoming a problem with me, with Yu-Gi-Oh players, where instead of trying to build your deck to stop certain plays, our go-to plan is to, ban the card. I'm going to be the first one to say, I used to always do this. I always found myself saying this, I want this card banned because I just don't want to face it, which, everyone has a right to do that. Everyone has a right to say that. But realistically, to be real, that's not an excuse, though. You can't just want a card banned because you just don't want to face that card itself. Or if that card helps a deck out significantly, then you just don't want to face that deck, then just to straight out axe the card so we don't have to see that deck compete. Now, before I go any further with this, discussion talk, I am not an I am an Altergeist player. So by no means is this Firewall hit gonna even help my deck. I don't use Firewall. I mean, I guess it will help my deck to a degree because it will take away from decks that does hurt my deck, and I don't have to face them. Which I should be, of all people, should be one of the players that says, "Hey, ban the Firewall," because it will take away that deck from being competitive, and then my deck has a standing chance on a competitive scene. My deck still does, but my deck won't have trouble against those particular decks if Firewall gets hit. So I'm doing this to be fair. I am doing this because, in my opinion, the Firewall card is okay at where it's at now. I don't believe in eroding a card, so I'm going to get the eroda part out of the way. Cards should never be eroded unless Konami is bringing it off the ban list to put a card in a set. Outside that, a card should never be eroded. All the cards that we have got off the ban list have been eroded has been irrelevant. So even so, I still don't understand the concept of eroding a card, because it's never going to see play. I mean, if Construct comes off the ban list and it gets an eroda, Construct will probably never see play, because Construct at that point would be almost pointless to use with the eroda it's gotten. I'd rather Construct come off the ban list without an eroda. At least he would have some use. To be fair, do I think Firewall is a powerful card? It is. But so are like 90% of disruption cards we have to our Expulso to stop this Firewall. Now, this is excluding the Goki deck, and I will get to that, later in this video about the Gokis. With the Firewall by itself, it's not a problem. And I always tell people that. It's like, if you take any cards and you subtract it away from the Firewall, you know, is Firewall the issue? Then does it become a problem? Is it a problem for you? You know, and 100% of the time they tell me no. They goes, but, you know, with this card, and with this card, and with this card, it's good. With this card, it's good. With this card, it's good. And I'll tell you right now, most of the cards I mention, they're not even, they're not on the competitive scene. You know, they has never seen play. Outside a couple of them that I've heard, but then I even tell them, well, if you ban those cards, you know, then is it a problem? No. Okay. Then ban those other cards. Why does it have to be the Firewall? Is it because we don't want to face it, as I said earlier? No. That's not okay. Not to me. It's not okay to ban a card just because you don't want to face it. I mean, there's a lot of cards I don't want to face, but guess what? Reality is, it's there. I have to face it. I have to build my deck to where I don't lose to it. The other point here is, if Firewall has been, you know, this ban-worthy card where, you know, you can't stop it, and we've tried everything in our power to stop it, then, okay, ban it. But we haven't tried everything. As competitive players, we haven't tried everything we can to stop the Firewall. And why do I ask you why? Why are we not seeing, you know, winter cherries running around with a Firewall? Because if you use winter cherries, guess what? No Firewall. Not for them. For you, sure. For them, no. And let's be real here. 100% of the time, if they're relying on that Firewall, they're going to want to go first. So winter cherries is the perfect card to use against them. Now, I understand most decks are using it. I've seen a lot of players, you know, I've seen their deck list. I've seen them play winter cherries. But guess what I have not seen in their extra deck, or in their side deck for that matter? Firewall. Yeah, that's right. Firewall. Why is that? I'll tell you why. Because it's not a problem. It's not an issue. Because Firewall has such a setup for it. If you stop the setup, you stop the Firewall. That's why. And, you know, that's correct. That's the correct call, is to, okay, hit the assault so they don't go into their Firewall plays. I mean, the easiest thing to do is to hit the Firewall, let them have the combos, and see what the deck can do without the Firewall. And what gets thrown at me is, oh, well, the deck can still perform without the Firewall. Then why ban it? If the deck can still perform without the Firewall, then why ban it? If Firewall's not, if you take the Firewall away from them, like if you're winter cherrying the Firewall, the deck can still compete. The deck can still beat you. The deck can still do what it's supposed to do. So obviously, if you ban the Firewall, you're not banning the problem. You're not banning the deck. You're not hurting the deck whatsoever. All you're doing is just taking another resource from other decks to use. Just so you hit one deck, and only one deck, and it ain't gonna do anything. And I'm sure a lot of people haven't thought about that, but that's something to think about, is you're hitting a card for Gokis. Let's all be real. No other reason. You know, and I understand people coming at me with, oh, well, he causes, you know, degenerate decks to, you know, do shenanigans. Well, what degenerate decks are we speaking of? Because I haven't seen any on a competitive level. The only thing I've seen Firewall being used mostly in is Gokis. Maybe your Trickstar Sky Striker player that, you know, if they have the hand, they can bring out Firewall with the Lucaris. But let's be real here. If we all see what Trickstars are going to be getting, then will that Firewall even do anything for them once they get their hits? Because they're going to get their hits. Trust me. Now, I don't want to see any decks die. You know, me as a player, I would hate to, see decks die. And that's not my thing. I don't want to kill any decks. So, but Trickstar Star Strikers will get their hits. That deck will still be able to survive. And the Firewall will help them survive. Now, will that deck be the deck it was before these hits? No, probably not. We're probably not going to see, that deck winning a lot of events like we have been seeing. Same with the Gokis. Gokis are probably going to do their thing, but they're not going to be as consistent as they have been. And they're going to get their hits too, but it's not the Firewall. And I really hope it's not. Now, what do we hit with the Firewall? If we don't hit Firewall, then what could we possibly hit to, not have the Firewall become a problem in Gokis? Or for that matter, any extra deck, Link deck. I'm just using Gokis. Gokis is the most popular one right now. I'm sure Zombie Vampires have their extra decks going on too, which we'll probably be seeing soon once they get their full support. But if you hit one card, if you think about this, let's think about this. If you hit one card, what card would you hit? And people are probably thinking of random cards, which is probably correct. But the card I would hit out of all of them would be the Nightmare Goblin. If you hit Nightmare Goblin, you stop yourself from not being able to disrupt. And that's the main problem with the Goki extra deck board that they can build, is that Goblin. Not so much any other card, but the Goblin. Because Goblin stops you from Infinite Imperienson, it stops you from Veiling, it stops you from basically most of your hand traps you have to stop them from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And not so much stop them from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! But stop them from exploding, going off and building these outrageous boards that we know they can build. Basically, that's my take on Firewall. Everyone's real thing is the Gokis, not anything else. And I tell them, well, if the Goki deck is the problem, then how about we hit the Goblin? Which hit is actually the fair hit here? Goblin or the Firewall? But my main concern is, if this is a big if, because I really don't see it by Konami hitting Firewall. I just don't want anyone being upset with the hit. That's why I'm making this video, is to give you guys a better understanding of why it's not important to hit the Firewall, and why it should not be banned. But let's say if Firewall does get banned, will there really be a deck that will take a rise from it? No. The other question to ask yourself is, we're going to be getting a handful of new archetypes coming. We're going to get those, Crusaders that we already have. They're going to get more support. We got the Dangers that came out. They're going to be a thing, I'm sure, because that's a really powerful archetype itself. The plussing is unreal with that deck, by the way. And I love the concept of that, and I love Dangers, but we're going to go into a format where decks are going to be used. New decks are going to be used, and the Fireball, it's not going to be used. Not to the degree where it becomes a, problem like it is with the Gokis. If you hit the Goki deck, you're basically solving that Firewall. Problem as everyone says it is, which I don't think it's a problem. Being able to special summon 5 or 7 times. You already do that anyways without the Firewall. You can special summon 5 or 7 monsters in a turn without the Firewall. We've seen it happen with other decks. What makes Gokis, so special where, we need to ban one card because of it? There's no reason. That's it. That's all I gotta say. Pay attention to the next format. Pay attention after the ban list. and look at all the decks that are going probably top, and ask yourself, if Firewall was banned, would it have affect this event? Would it have affect those decks? I can tell you right now, the answer is probably going to be a big no. Anyways, that's it for my video here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my video. If you guys did, hit that like button. Also, leave a comment below. Tell me what you guys think. You guys agree with me? Did your mind change a little bit after watching this video on the Firewall ban? Hopefully it did. Hopefully I brought a little knowledge to you guys and gave you guys a really good explanation of why Firewall should not be banned. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys on my next video, and I will see you guys all later. Alright? Bye.